Let me tell you something that most people are too afraid to say out loud. The moment you stop chasing, everything changes. You want him to notice you. You want him to finally see your worth. Then stop proving it. Stop handing him everything, because the truth is, men don't obsess over women who chase. They obsess over the ones who walk away. You've been trained to believe that if you just show him how much you care, how available you are, how understanding and loyal and patient you can be, that eventually he'll come around. But that's not how attraction works. That's not how desire works. Men fall hard for women who have the courage to stop caring when they're being taken for granted. Let's get real about something most people don't want to admit. Chasing someone never brings you closer to them. In fact, it does the opposite. It pushes them away. When you chase a man, when you're constantly calling, texting, wondering if he's thinking about you, planning how to show him more love so he finally chooses you, what you're really doing is placing him on a pedestal that he hasn't earned. And the moment you do that, you lose your power. You're telling him, without even using words, that his presence in your life is more valuable than your peace, that he's more important than your boundaries, that he's the prize you're trying to win. But you are not on this earth to audition for someone's affection. You're not here to convince a man to see your worth. The truth is, the women men obsess over are the ones who don't chase, the ones who walk away when they're not being respected, the ones who know that silence is a language too, and that walking away is sometimes louder than yelling. Because here's what no one told you: men are wired to pursue. They're biologically and psychologically built to desire the challenge, and it's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to forget. A woman who stands in her power, who knows what she brings to the table and doesn't offer it up to just anyone, becomes unforgettable. She becomes magnetic, not because she's rude, not because she's cold, but because she's selective. She knows that her energy is sacred. She knows that access to her heart should be earned, not given. And men feel that. They sense that she's different. She's not moved by empty words or inconsistent actions. She doesn't need attention. She commands it without even trying, and that's what drives them crazy. See, when you chase, you're operating from lack, from fear, from insecurity. You're trying to fill a void with someone else's presence, hoping that maybe if he chooses you, you'll finally feel enough. But chasing never leads to fulfillment. It leads to burnout. It leads to resentment, and worst of all, it leads to self-abandonment. Because every time you ignore your own needs to accommodate someone else, you betray yourself. Every time you wait by the phone hoping he'll text, you're delaying your own growth. And every time you lower your standards just to keep him interested, you're shrinking to fit into a space you were never meant to stay in. But when you stop, when you finally let go of the need to be chosen, everything shifts. That silence you were afraid of becomes your strength. That space you created by walking away becomes the mirror he didn't know he needed. Because now he has to sit with the absence of your energy, and let me tell you, that absence is powerful. It lingers, it makes him think, it makes him realize what he had, what he ignored, what he lost. And that's when obsession begins, not because you did more, but because you stopped doing anything at all. So stop chasing, not as a tactic, not as a trick, but as a declaration that you're not available for breadcrumbs, that you won't fight for a spot in someone's life who wouldn't fight for you, that you are enough, with or without his validation. And the moment you truly believe that, that's the moment everything changes. Because men don't forget women who know their worth. They remember them. They dream about them. They obsess over them. There's a powerful shift that happens when a woman stops chasing. At first, it might feel like you're doing nothing, like you're giving up, like you're surrendering the connection. But what you're actually doing is reclaiming your energy, your self-worth, and your power. You're stepping into a place where your value is no longer dependent on someone else's attention or validation, and that move, quiet, strong, intentional, is exactly what makes a man start paying attention in a different way. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about finally realizing that your presence is a privilege, not a given, and when you treat it like that, others start treating it that way too. Chasing someone is a form of emotional overextension. You're giving more than you're receiving. You're showing up more than they are. You're trying harder, caring deeper, and hoping louder, and it exhausts you. It becomes a loop of overthinking and self-doubt. You question your worth when he pulls away. You try harder when he gives less, and the cycle repeats until you feel drained and invisible. But the woman who doesn't chase, she breaks that cycle. She chooses herself even when it hurts. She silences her impulse to reach out and instead turns inward. She builds her life so full that she doesn't need to beg for space in someone else's. And that self-containment is powerful. That independence is rare, and that's why men can't stop thinking about her. When a man doesn't hear from you, he starts wondering. Not because you're trying to make him wonder, but because your silence stands out in a world that's constantly screaming for attention. Most people are afraid of being forgotten, so they overcompensate. But the woman who's not afraid of being forgotten, she becomes unforgettable. It's not the words she says, it's the words she doesn't. It's not the text she sends, it's the ones she doesn't send. That calm confidence, that steady detachment, it sticks in a man's mind like nothing else. You see, when you chase, you flip the natural polarity. You put yourself in the position of the pursuer, the one trying to prove something, the one operating from lack. But when you stop chasing, you allow the relationship to reset. You allow the man to feel your absence. You allow the truth to rise. If he values you, he'll show up. If he doesn't, he won't. But either way, you're not losing. You're learning. You're getting clarity. And clarity is freedom. Men don't obsess over women who beg. They don't stay up at night thinking about the woman who kept texting after they stopped replying. They don't fantasize about the girl who waited around. They think about the one who had the courage to leave, the one who didn't fight for them after being mistreated, the one who said, "I'm not chasing anyone who's walking away from me." That kind of strength imprints on them. It challenges them, it forces them to ask themselves why they let her go, and that's where the obsession begins. There's beauty in restraint. There's power in letting someone feel your absence. There's dignity in refusing to prove your worth. The woman who stops chasing doesn't do it because she doesn't care. She does it because she cares about herself more, and that kind of energy, it changes everything. It draws in the right people, repels the wrong ones, and builds a foundation of self-respect that no one can take away. Men may not understand it at first, but over time, they never forget the woman who chose herself over the chase. When a woman decides to stop chasing, something extraordinary happens. Not only does the dynamic between her and the man change, but something deep inside her shifts too. She starts to reclaim her emotional space, her mental clarity, and her sense of peace. Because let's face it, chasing a man is exhausting. It's not just the constant reaching out, the hoping, the wondering if you said the right thing or did too much or not enough. It's the emotional toll of never feeling fully secure, of always trying to be seen, valued, and prioritized by someone who keeps you guessing. But when you stop chasing, you remove yourself from that emotional chaos. You take back control, and that is when a man begins to truly see you differently. It's not about punishing him. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about shifting the focus back to you, because what chasing really communicates, without you even realizing it, is that you're afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of losing him, afraid of what it says about you if he doesn't choose you. And fear is never attractive, but self-trust, self-containment, self-worth, that energy is undeniable. When a woman is okay with being alone, when she refuses to overextend herself just to keep someone around, when she sits with her discomfort instead of running from it, that's when a man starts to notice. That's when the obsession begins, because now you're not feeding his ego. You're respecting your own value, and men feel that shift. They feel when the energy changes. They know when a woman is no longer emotionally invested in chasing them, even if she hasn't said a word. There's something in the silence that's louder than any conversation. There's something in her absence that creates presence. Suddenly, he's wondering where you went, why you're no longer showing up. Why your energy is missing. He might not say it, but he feels it. That space you used to fill, he notices when it's gone. That's the beginning of a man spiraling into curiosity, and curiosity often leads to obsession. We've been taught to believe that love requires constant effort, that if you're not giving, proving, and fixing, you're failing. But real love isn't sustained by chasing. It's sustained by mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual investment. And if you're the only one showing up, then it's not love, it's imbalance. The woman who stops chasing understands this. She knows that peace is more important than attention. She knows that her value is not up for negotiation. And that's why she stands out.